You know, when Paul speaks to the Galatians this morning, he says some very important things that we need to hear. He was looking at that community and encouraging them, but also telling them what the dangers are too. Did you hear that? Because that encouragement needed to be there for the community, just like we need that encouragement as well too at times. And I love the encouragement in this translation that we use today. An encouragement that calls us to be free and to be animated. Did you hear those words? We don't always hear that in the traditional translations. But in this translation, what a wonderful gift when we hear that. We are called to be free, but also to realize that freedom is to be exercised, knowing God's plan for us, and living out a message that we've been given. You know, it brought to mind when I was reading this week of somebody I knew in one of the congregations that I've been in. I'm going to call him Tom. You know, we always have to give different names to protect the innocent. So Tom, when I met him, is this wonderful, wonderful gentleman. He had a real difficult time at one point when he came to MCC, and I think I've told you about him before because he touched my heart so much. When he first came to MCC, and he has actually told the entire congregation about this in a witness. He came to MCC because somebody invited him, but his partner had passed away previous to that. He was so depressed because of it. He came to MCC with the intention of, I'll come, I'll satisfy what they want to do, I'm going to go home after that, and I'm going to end it. He came there and instead, he found himself welcomed by healing presence in the community. And he continued that wonderful gift that he began. It changed him. Something inside of him changed so much that he knew he couldn't keep it to himself. During one of our events that we had at this congregation, which was a Wednesday evening meal that they had, I noticed that there was a young man that kept coming. I'm going to call him Angel. Angel kept coming, and he would disappear sometime through the time. We all got to know him. And Tom finally asked somebody one time, where does he live? And they said, do you know the viaduct down the street? He lives underneath that. It bothered him so much that at midnight that night, he drove there, not in exactly the most safe of areas, found Tom, and brought him home. He said, I already knew him. I'd gotten to know him already. He said, I needed to do something. I couldn't stand to see this young man like this. He gave him food and shelter and helped him, and now Angel is on his own, working his own job. I remember asking him one time this, what made you do it? You know what his answer was? Isn't that who I'm supposed to be? It took me back because that message meant not just to listen to it, but to be the message. Not to just do work, but to be the message. That's the part I think sometimes we miss. You see, he did it so well. He reached out to somebody who was in need. And he reached out to them not because of, I've got to do this act. It's because of who he was and he knew him. You see, something in him was different. It wasn't just about the transformation like last week. It's now that it had changed him so much that it needed to bear fruit. You see, we can go through transformation like we talked about last week. And sometimes it can still sit as transformation. But to bear fruit means to be the person you're called to be. He did not hesitate with that. And in fact, he said something very clear that I think is so true about us in MCC. He said, am I not called to live an authentic life? Now you see, so often we've talked about that with just our sexuality. I don't know about all of you, but that's just one little part of me. We are called to be authentic in who we are. And authentic living means to be animated and live that freedom we heard from Paul when he talked to the Galatians today. That animation doesn't mean just doing the work. It means it's coming from us because of who we are. Because we are God's children. Because we are brothers and sisters. And because we know it doesn't just end here. It continues out those doors.
Amen.
You see, that's who we are. And in fact, if we really want to get down to it, that's what we are when we say we are MCC. And then we are called to be MCC. I know you've heard me say it before from Garrison Keillor. Remember that statement? Just sitting in the garage doesn't make you a car any more than sitting in a church makes you a Christian.
Amen.
You see, it's because we become to live authentically who we are called to be. Without fear, but with freedom. Not just sitting in the pews, but animated with the very life of God. So that when people encounter us, they encounter somebody different than what we expect to portray sometimes. They encounter Christ. They encounter God's love, which is unconditional. They encounter people of compassion. And saints, we have been trying to imagine the people of God all month, have we not?
Yes.
We come today to realize this is about fruition, to bear the fruit. And to bear fruit means, as we live our authentic lives, we must be MCC. It means when we leave these doors every Sunday, we are nourished and strengthened. So that we can truly be a people who are different. People who are willing to live an authentic life, which means a life that God planned for us from the very beginning. There's something very different about being an MCC person. We don't just take that message and just say it's a learning for us. We do let it change us. And not only change us, we let it bear fruit. Saints, that's who we're called to be. Each and every day, we realize as we come here, as people who have been wounded or oppressed from other religious environments possibly, or just where we felt we haven't fit, we realize that we are experiencing the early Christian experience all over again. MCC has been doing that for 45 years. And just think about it. We reach out to people who have had that same experience. That is compassion. And that is authentic living. Because it's not just coming from actions. It's coming from who we are. That is authentic. This week I challenge us. As we leave these doors, I challenge us to encounter people with that authentic life. Let it show. Let it shine. You heard that in the opening song. Because when we do, people know who we are and whose we are. Saints, let's be MCC. Can I hear an amen?
Amen.